All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, you already know what time it is, and right here, right now, we actually have the one and only, the hip hop veteran on the line. We got the one and only DeShawn White right here, right now. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on here. It's a blessing.
Hey man, you are most certainly welcome. It's definitely an honor to have such an amazing, phenomenal MC of your caliber on the FM dial this evening, man. So thank you so much in advance for a little bit of your time this evening.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But I have to ask first and foremost, man, what originally made you decide to venture into the music industry initially, man? Because in my opinion, when you put on a DeShawn White record, it sounds so perfect, man. You know, you're such an amazing MC.
Uh, I'd have to say pain, because growing up, when I was a young buck, I saw a whole lot of gang violence. Growing up, I'd look out my window, see people getting shot at. I lost some family members to gun violence and drug violence. So, me being a kid, all I knew to do was jot. I wrote poetry, and that poetry was displaying my pain, and that poetry ended up turning into songs, as I kind of matured and got older.
And I also read as well that some of your influences were actually by Linkin Park. If you don't mind me asking, man, because me personally, I grew up listening to Linkin Park as well, and I love how they actually had that rock music, but they also had the hip hop element to their music as well. What really made you decide to venture into Linkin Park?
I'd never heard anything like it. They were a universal band, in the sense of, it's not a lot of rock bands that translate to the hood, but I remember, coming out, you hear people bumping Jay-Z, you hear people bumping, Pac, they're outcasts, they're playing everything, and then out of nowhere you hear this rock band. They just transcended the culture somehow, and their music was so powerful, that even us in the hood, who typically, we weren't rockers like that, but their music translated. And again, for me, you could feel the pain crawling in my skin. The records they had, it's so much pain, and it's so raw. And I think that's what connected with everybody, was that realness. They were saying and feeling things. They were saying what they felt, and that was things we felt growing up. We communicated it differently, but it was the same pain. We were on the same journey, just trying to find out who we are and trying to heal.
And also as well, man, in 2007, you actually released your first studio album titled My Story. I was wondering, what is the story and inspiration behind this phenomenal released project? And of course, it is still available to be streamed or purchased today in 2022.
Oh, wow. Yeah, man, that was a little bit of what we went into just a little bit ago. It was my story. It was kind of me telling my journey, being adopted, being raised by my grandma, and, growing up in the slums, and bologna and cheese and lights off, just trying to get the lights on. And, so I told that whole story through that project. That project's actually no longer available at the moment. I haven't actually, really converted it. It was right at the brink of the streaming services when they started popping off. So it wasn't really out there like that. So no, it's not available right now. There's still some hard copies floating around. Every now and again, somebody will send me a picture on Facebook of the hard copy they got. So.
And I have to ask, do you actually have any plans to actually kind of remaster the project and re-release it on the streaming platforms, or is that just something you kind of want to leave in your past?
Yeah, man, I think I'm gonna leave that behind. I listen to the project and I've evolved so much, not just as an artist, but as a man. I'm not. I don't really want to relive where I was in that moment. That's back when I was, selling dope. Went to jail and, in the club and fighting and shooting and being young and reckless. I'm not there no more. I'm saying I'm a husband. I'm a father, and that's not something that I prefer to relive. If somebody brings it up or somebody has a copy of it, I've signed a few of the CDs. But it's definitely nothing I want to put funds behind, because what I'm doing now is so much more powerful. It's healing. It's bringing life. It's restoring the hood. It's restoring people. So, I'm on something way different right now,
And also as well, you've actually done a substantial amount of work with Cash Money Records. I was wondering, what is the story behind that? And of course, how did you originally get connected with that iconic hip hop label?
Crazy story, Cash Money. So I live in a city called Johnson City, Tennessee. Brian Birdman was driving through. His tour bus got knocked. Cops always picking on people with tour buses around here, so they pulled their tour bus over. Of course, they had guns and they had dope and stuff on the tour bus, and they ended up going to jail in my hometown. We had a homeboy named Shank who was in jail, preparing to get sent to prison to do life for kingpin charges, and somehow him and Brian started talking. So Brian needed somebody, from my understanding of how the story went. My homeboy went in and set all this up, but from my understanding of the story, Brian needed somebody to get him out so he could get the rest of his team out, because you can't bail yourself out on drug charges here in Tennessee. So we showed up, our whole rap crew. My homeboy went, paid to get Birdman out. He got the rest of his crew out, and the rest was history. A lot of people think the Cash Money situation was based on talent or based on whatever. Yeah, they felt what we were doing, and they heard that we had talent, but it wasn't until, after the All-Star game. We went to the All-Star game with them in New Orleans in, 2008. We went to a bunch of the shows on the Lil Wayne Carter 3 tour, and it wasn't until then they were finally like, yo, what do y'all do, besides hustle? What do y'all do? And it was just that time, that moment, that divine intervention. We actually do music. They heard the beats, they heard the artists that we had, and the rest was history, man. We just started traveling with them, and they just taught us how to be artists and how to hustle and the grind that goes into making it, in the background. Because a lot of people have this idea of what it takes to make it, but they don't even understand all that goes into it. It's not just you wake up. For the most part, nowadays you got the internet, you got TikTok, you just on something crazy, and it goes viral. It wasn't really like that back then. It was a lot more grit, a lot more grind, and a lot of work goes into being successful, man.
And also as well on tour with Cash Money, you actually released the phenomenal mixtape titled E.T. Phone Home. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this mixtape, and of course, what actually made you decide to actually drop it during tour?
E.T. Phone Home, so it's I was real big, back then, my vision was small. It was about putting my hometown on the map. That's still great. I love my hometown. We actually just moved back here from Florida. We were in Orlando for a little bit, close to Orlando. So we're back living in my hometown and near my hometown in the suburbs outside. But yeah, E.T. Phone Home is East Tennessee. E.T. Phone Home, and it was just really all about where I'm from. A lot of people, they see us in East Tennessee, little country mountain folks, saying ain't really living no street life, don't know nothing, no shoes, no teeth. Everybody got perception of people in the hills. I mean, there was a lot of thugging here, a lot of streets, a lot of violence, a lot of gangs. In fact, New York, what happened in my town, they call it Little Chicago. Al Capone used to run this area, but what happened to make it really boom and got real violent was New York. When the crack epidemic popped off in the 80s, New York came down to Johnson City. Actually, my stepdad was one of the pioneers who came down here, and saw this as a harvest field. It was like, yo, we got a place where we can make money. And then New York, people started flooding in from New York. And I mean, before you knew it, Johnson City was went from Little Chicago to Little New York, you know what I'm saying? And it was filled with gang members from New York. And then a war broke out between New York and North Carolina, because North Carolina had the same idea. They came to the city. So Johnson City, all of us hometown folks, we had to pick a side. And most of us ended up partnering with New York because they were here first, and they kind of integrated into the community. But that's how it got so violent. That's how it got so bloody. New York came and they brought the streets to the country, bro.
And also as well, man, I have to ask, pertaining to that mixtape, sorry, is it actually still out there today to be listened to? Because I do know some of the mixtape sites have unfortunately, kind of shut down, but some of them are still available to actually listen to some of those old projects released in the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's another one that was on, again, I had that on Now I forgot which mixtape site that was on, but that's unavailable. I actually just found that on a hard drive. I had lost everything, but I had a homeboy who had tracked my career for years, and apparently he had saved all that. So I actually just found the E.T. Phone Home album, probably like a month ago. So I actually have it. I don't know if I'm gonna put it out or what, but it's not on any sites because again, you know, a lot of the sites that was on it, they're shut down now. And then there would be a lot of legal hurdles to be able to put it out because that project, you know, I was doing the whole thing that Lil Wayne was doing, you know, kind of rapping on everybody's beats, and that's not really legal nowadays. So.
And also, when we're actually on the topic of Lil Wayne, you also had the opportunity to go on tour with him for his America's Most Wanted tour, but abruptly decided to actually quit music during the course of the tour. I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners the story behind that, and of course, what actually made you decide to put the microphone down for a little bit and actually leave Lil Wayne's tour.
And it was crazy. I tell people this story. Some people was like, "Yo, you should hear the reaction." Some people was like, "Oh, it's an alien experience." I'm like, "I don't know about no aliens. I don't know about any of that." You know what I'm saying? That's whatever. If that's what you think. So I'm on this tour, bro. I kid you not. And I'm standing. I think we were in the amphitheater in either Charlotte or Greensboro, North Carolina. We're outside, and I had these VIP passes in my hand. You know, I was trying to smash them. I was looking for girls. We to take back to the hotel, and I'm walking around, and I kid you not, bro. Like, I just went into the only thing I can describe as an open vision, or I don't even know how to describe it. I guess an open vision. Like, it was like I was awake, but I was dreaming, and like in a way that was like intense. So like I was looking up and frozen, looking into the sky, and I was looking at my life flash before me. I thought I was dead, bro. I didn't know what happened, and I'm just sitting there. I don't know how long of an event it was or anything, but I'm watching my life flash before my face. I saw me as a kid in Vacation Bible School. You know, I'm running around singing I'm in the Lord's Army, and it fast forwarded to a time when I was like 21 years old. I was smoking dope in my bedroom, and I remember my grandma gave me this little old dusty Bible, bro. It was ratty, and I remember opening this Bible up, and it looked like the words on the page were breathing. And I was like, man, I'm too high for this right now. I was high out of my mind. So I threw the Bible, and then he brought me to the moment that I was standing in. And like when I came back, it felt like somebody was standing on my shoulders. And I felt like the weight, just the weight. It was a weight. That's all I could describe. You know, whether you subscribe to whatever faith you subscribe to. For me, in that moment, I felt like, this is my sin. Like something's crushing me. Like I gotta do something different with my life. Something's wrong. And I freaked out, bro. I panicked. I thought I was gonna have a heart attack, and I left. I left the music industry. I moved. It was actually the last time I saw. This was one of the last times I saw Birdman. I saw him like one time after that, but I left the music industry and moved back in with my family. And I would just stay in that room, man. I was just asking God, like, to show me who He is, and if this is God, is it an alien? Like, what is it? And I came to the conclusion, after all that time of searching, that it was God, and I had a real God encounter, and that forced me, being somebody who's unchurched. I was in Vacation Bible School and stuff as a kid, but who wasn't? Like, I was there for the snacks, what I'm saying? I was trying to go on the field trip, at the end of the week. But I never I was a very unchurched. But when I had that moment, I was like, man, like, this God thing might really be real. Like, this wasn't something that my family was just telling me about to try to make me act right, And then I just went on the journey, bro, to get to know who He was. And, I studied the Quran. I studied, Buddhism. I went through it all. And, for me personally, I arrived to Jesus Christ, being my Lord. And that's why I lived my life from that moment forward. That's why I left the industry.
And also, as well, when we're actually on the topic of finding yourself and whatnot, man, you actually had the opportunity to become a pastor as well, from what I read on the internet. I was wondering, because I do know that obviously you've entered into religion and whatnot and then left the industry for a little while. But what actually made you decide to also pursue being a pastor? And of course, are you still one today?
Man, I don't even know what I was thinking, bro. Like, I guess I was trying to be obedient, bro. I met this guy. I would travel, and I would share my story all over the U.S. You know, I still get to travel and speak and share my story, and just share where I'm from and talk, you know, about my career and stuff. God has really blessed me to be able to do that. But in the process of doing that, I met a guy, and he was like, "Yo, you know, I met him for like 2 years, right? Like I would go to Florida 2 years in a row. Me and him would hang out. I'd go there for like 3 or 4 months at a time during the winter and just, you know, preach and share my story with people and in churches." And he was like, "Yo, I'm getting ready to take this church over. Can you come help me? You want to come co-pastor with me?" And I'm not a big Florida fan. If I'm being honest, like, I thought I would never go back to Florida. You know, I had bad experiences there when I was younger. But for whatever reason, you know, I just felt a special grace over my life. Me and my wife, we had just got married, and we were like, let's do it. We moved to Florida, and at best, it was a life learning experience, bro. Learning how to get outside of myself, learning how to serve other people, and I think it was more for me and my wife, though, bro, because she had never left home. You know, we only had us, and we hated each other during this time. Like, I was always gone doing something. She was working. Then we found out we were pregnant. Like, we had a honeymoon baby. We weren't trying to have no baby in Florida. We had a honeymoon baby, and it was just, man, it was a turbulent time, bro. Turbulent. We hated each other for real. But, you know, we were all we really had. And I think in this process, it was God's way of making us stronger than we would ever be. Because I heard the Lord say, your first year is going to be your worst year. You know, I didn't know what that really meant at the time. Well, yeah, because we gonna live together and have some hurdles. And it was rough, bro. You know, we were living in very tiny space, like a RV type thing for a little bit before we got a house. I mean, it was brutal. Pastoring is something that I don't feel like it's for me now, as far as like, you know, being a shepherd and being responsible for people's lives and their mess. Cause I'm working through my own mess, you know. But what I do love is, you know, telling people about God and sharing Jesus wherever I go, you know. And I be in bars. You know, I'm not like, you know, a lot of people ask, am I a Christian artist or are you a mainstream artist? Like, I'm me, you know. I'm me. You know, you listen to my music. It's from the heart, you know. And you know, sometimes I'm talking about what God has done for me. Sometimes I'm talking about what I've been through. Sometimes I'm talking about my wife. It's intimate. You know, talking about getting busy. You know, all that. You know, so you take it how you want to take it. You know, I'm not going to label myself. I'm just making music, and wherever it falls, it falls. So all that to say, you know, I don't pastor in a church or anything, but I'm often, you know, because of what I do in the music world and my story, invited to speak and teach in different capacities, in both Christian spaces and non-Christian spaces, which has been really cool to maneuver.
And also as well, going back into the music side of things, November 5th of 2021, you actually released a tribute song for the motion picture movie Spider-Man No Way Home. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about that, and of course, what inspired you to pay homage to New York City's own Peter Parker, or as we know him, Spider-Man?
Hey, yeah, Spider-Man was crazy. I've always been a Spider-Man head. Like, that's been my guy. Like, that is my guy. If I could pick a superhero, you know, that's my guy. And so back in, like, 2020, we had gotten a tip. I was just now starting to get into, like, doing stuff for motion pictures. I actually do a lot of stuff behind the scenes for, like, you know, different movies. I got an acting role coming up in a movie, actually, that we're working on. I'm waiting on the script to come in. I had a little piece of it. But anyways, I move around a lot in my mind sometimes, so let me try to stay focused. So Spider-Man. So basically, yeah, we got a tip that the movie was going to come out in 2021, and so we started working on that song. And I didn't even make the song for me. I wrote the song for The Weeknd. I was like, yo, I'm going to write this track, and we're going to pitch it to the Weeknd, so maybe the Weeknd can get the headline track on the new Spider-Man movie. But unfortunately, that Spider-Man stuck to their kind of theme, like their series. That particular series don't really use a lot of artists like that. They do a lot of orchestral type stuff, and they kind of stuck to their guns on that. And we ended up never getting the record to the Weeknd. So we were just sitting on this record, and the movie was getting closer to coming out. So I told my homie, I was like, yo, let's just release the record and see what it does. Like, let's just tell people we got a Spider-Man tribute. Let's release the record and watch what happens. So we released the record. It kind of took off. It started popping. And I guess people, in their mind, they heard Spider-Man tribute, and in their mind, they assumed that it was in the movie. I never said it was in the movie. I guess they just assumed that. So everybody's hitting me up, congratulations, congratulations. You know, the news hits me up, and they're talking about the song. Everybody starts hitting me up. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then finally, we end up getting an email from AMC theaters, and they were like, yo, you want to host an official pre-screening of the movie. And we had Sony's blessing, because Sony's over all that. So Sony was like, got their blessing. They had to talk to Sony. Sony heard the record. They were like, let them run it. So I actually got to, didn't get in the movie, but I got to do an official pre-screening, saw the movie like 4 days before it came out, like when everybody else was seeing it out in L.A. and New York. We were doing a pre-screening here locally, and the news was there, and everybody was talking about the tribute. It was super dope, man.
And I have to ask as well, man, because obviously, like you said, Spider-Man's like your guy, you know what I mean? Me personally, I'm not going to lie to you. I went to the theaters and saw this movie 11 times. Like legit. When I mean 11, I'm not even exaggerating, man. I would have went at 12, but they took it away from me before I could. But I have to ask, man, what was your actual take when you're sitting in there? You were probably one of the first people outside of, that movie that actually found out that, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire actually returned. What was your take on that? How did you feel? Because obviously, probably as a kid, you actually grew up watching the Tobey Maguire films.
Yeah, Tobey, both of them. Tobey and Andrew, but dude, I know y'all probably had the same vibe. So we're in there sitting, and we had heard, I had gotten, like I said, I got some tips on the basis, of the idea of the concept of the power struggle and the multiverse. So I had that, but I didn't have confirmation. I had a confirmation that something would be tied to Venom in the movie. That's why I said bring your Venom if you want to. It cannot kill me. But I didn't know whether Venom was going to be in the movie or how it would be tied to the movie. You see at the end, when you wait to the credits roll, you see Venom being tied to the movie. I'm like, oh, okay. So that was the tip. So everything's going to kind of merge, and moving forward, you're going to kind of see that Spider-Man Venom thing. Cool. But yeah, man, in the theater, we're sitting there, and dude, when Spider-Man jumped through, was it Andrew, jumped through the portal, bro? Oh my gosh, the theater went nuts. Literally everybody started screaming. And then the portal opened up again, and then another Spider-Man jumped through. We were like, bro, the whole theater lost it. It was crazy because I packed the theater out. I had me, my whole team, and then we had some sponsors there. So probably we filled up 80 seats in there. The news, everybody, it was crazy. But man, I was blown away. I thought the film was phenomenal. I thought it was well done. It wasn't cheesy the way they done it. It was great. It was a great setup to be able to even do more with the film. And really, I hope and pray that I get an opportunity to be a part of more in the future, be on the soundtrack in the future.
And also as well, man, April 22nd of 2022, you actually released the 15-track album titled DeShawn White, based on a true story. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this project. And of course, do you have any hard copies available so our listeners can actually snag themselves some CDs today?
Man, so based on a true story, it is a more polished version, a more up-to-date version of my story from 2007. My story was my life story. This is my life story in the sense of like what led up to who I am, the depression, the stuff that I've been battling for so long. Like, where does that stem from? And it's telling my whole story. And then you see the redemption at the end. So I kind of go through that aha moment. You know, I go through the pain of losing my grandma and just really never getting the chance to grieve. I was the rock of my family. I was the strong one. So I couldn't cry. I ain't have time to cry. My mom's crying. My uncles were drunk, you know, out of his mind, threatening to do crazy. You know, it was turbulent. It was crazy. So I had to be strong for everybody. And I never really grieved. Immortal, I never really grieved, bro. I didn't have time. You know, God gave me this grace to be strong for everybody. And then I got to a point, I started acting out. Like, my depression started coming back. It was really heavy. I started fighting with my wife. You know, I'm fighting in front of the kids, like out of character, like drinking real heavily every night, like liquor every night, bro. Just throwing down, and I started to act out of character, and I had to, you know, get some help. I had to talk about it. You know, I realized, like, you know, I never grieved. This is, I'm grieving and not really knowing what's happening. Especially around her birthday, I would act out. And then finally my wife was like, she put two and two together. She's like, DeShawn, you do this every time it's around her birthday or every time it's around a holiday or every time. I was like, you know what, you're right. I need help. So I went and got help. And that's what this album is, man. It's my album speaking out about my pain and about the loss of my grandma and just the downward spiral that I went on. So no hard copies. But we've been talking about doing like maybe 200 because I'm performing at this festival. And we talked about doing some hard copies just as a special thing. Like, if you get these 200 copies or 1,000, whatever we decide to do in June, we know that you are a part of this festival, this moment that we're going to be invited to.
And also,
but it's out everywhere. It's on all platforms. You know, you get it wherever. You can get your hard copy by, you know, downloading it. You know, you get it on Amazon. You get it on iTunes. I mean, it's downloadable if you don't want to stream it.
And I have to ask, man, other than this record that you're currently promoting right now that came out just last month, what is next for yourself, man? Is there anything we happen to miss during this broadcast? Anything else you do still want to talk about or promote? What we still got you here live on 97.7 FM this evening?
Man, there's so much is going on. Some of it, you know, it's kind of premature, but a label situation of being able to, you know, not really be an owner in this new label startup that'll have a major distribution, but playing a very key role over songwriters within the label and recruiting, kind of like an A&R, but also, you know, just putting out more music, working on another, you know, situation for my own self as well that'll be more lucrative and put my music in the ears of more listeners. And I also, speaking of Linkin Park, I got to tell you this. I wasn't even going to go here, but I'm doing a side project. That's going to be one of my next big venture, and it's a rock rap crossover. So it's not as hard as Linkin Park, but you can definitely see that the inspiration comes from, you know, between Linkin Park and 21 Pilots. So it's got a good balance of rap and rock, and it feels real good, man. I've recorded like probably 2 or 3 tracks off of that project so far, and it's gonna mess people up. Like, it's in that, I don't even know if I'm gonna call it DeShawn White. Like, I'm thinking about, you know, calling it something else, like a whole new type of collective, maybe presented by me. But that's gonna be dope, and I'm excited to release that. That's probably, besides the songwriting, possibly landing a record. Hopefully, you know, I've been working with Jeff Timmons from 98 Degrees, and we got some stuff up our sleeves in the writing world. So y'all have to sit back and watch the show on that, 'cause it's gonna be dope what we're working on. But other than that, I got the rock rap album that I plan to hopefully get out in probably 2023. I might even get to release a single off of that by the end of the year.
And also, DeShawn, this is the time in the interview quickly that I give a chance for the individual that does slide into the radio station airwaves, just a chance to give shoutouts to whomever they want to give shoutouts to, but most of all, your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and stay updated on everything you got going on if they're not already doing so.
Yeah, man, I want to give a shout out to my brother Billy. You know Billy linked us up. That's how we're sitting here talking. So he's been a good brother, been in my corner. He actually connected me with Jeff Timmons, and he's playing a vital role in a lot of things that's moving and shaking right now behind the scenes. So I got to give a shout out to him. Shout out to my cousin, Rappin' Forte. He's my cousin, and I just got to shout him out because it's been really good building with him. We found out we were kin probably like five or 6 years ago through family, and I mean we just picked up, and it was like we've known each other forever. And he's been a big inspiration. When I'm down, I'll hit him up. He'll speak his game, give me encouragement. Likewise, vice versa, I do the same for him. So I got to shout out Forte, everybody that stopped through the album and bless the new project. We got Kinfolk Kia Shine on there. If you don't know Kia Shine, he had the hit single Crispy. He wrote some on Drake's You the Best record. He's an actor. He's in Superfly. He's in Saints and Sinners, all kinds of movies. He's doing big stuff right now in the acting world. He came through a guy named Jay Plaza. I had a voice actor from Netflix who came through and blessed the project. It's y'all got to go check it out. If y'all don't already follow my social media, like everything's I am DeShawn White. That's IAMDESHAWNWNWHITE. Everything, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everything. I am DeShawn White, except for YouTube. And YouTube's just YouTube.com/DeShawn White.
And I gotta say, first and foremost, man, thank you so much for just giving us a bit of your time here this evening and sliding into the 97.7 FM airways, man. It definitely was an honor and most definitely a privilege, man. Hopefully down the line we can make this happen again sometime soon.
Yes, most definitely an honor, and we'll do it again, bro. I'm sure. I plan to keep shaking up the game and making moves, making noise. So next crazy thing that happens, you have to have me back on here, and we'll catch up again, bro. I appreciate you.
Hey, man, most definitely sounds like a plan, man. You are most certainly welcome, man, and definitely have yourself a wonderful night.
All right, man. You too.